Hello everyone, it's me Clayton. I just finished watching Thermae Romae Novae, which is made by Studio Naz and based off of the manga by Mari Yamazaki. Now, this latest Netflix anime happens to be one of the more unique ones that I've covered, especially since it has to do with a time-traveling Roman as he happens to go from ancient Rome to modern-day Japan to find out the secrets of Japan's bathhouses to make his thermais the best in all of Rome. Let's get to the story, shall we? The story revolves around a kind-hearted yet somewhat standoffish bathhouse architect named Lucius, played by Kenjiro Suda in the Japanese version and David Wald in the English dub. Lucius is trying to figure out ways to improve his architectural designs in order to fit the needs and the preferences of ancient Romans. But when he ends up putting his head below water, he ends up resurfacing in modern-day Japan in various settings. And there he happens to notice various innovations in bathing for the Japanese people that he decides to use for the Romans. And that's kind of how the series goes throughout its 11-episode run, where he goes everywhere from a hot springs resort to a spa town to a water park to just a normal communal bath that happens to involve him appropriating a lot of Japanese bathhouse traits. Now, anyone who's been to a Japanese bathhouse knows that they handle bathing quite a bit different than most other cultures, and that not only are the public bathings done with the company of other people of the same gender, but they also happen to do a lot of rituals involving bathing that will be pretty unfamiliar to those who aren't familiar with the culture. Thankfully, this show not only has us learning about these various things about at the same pace as Lucius is, but they also have little segments at the end of each episode that have the manga author herself going to various bathhouse areas to see their facilities and also give her new ideas for her manga. That's all well and good, and those certainly are interesting, but sadly it does feel like those ending segments do feel a bit like filler. Like you could cut those segments out entirely and not miss a thing in the story. Plus, the first episode, much like the first episode of Super Crooks, does feel like a somewhat pointless origin story about Lucius's childhood. Granted, it does come back a few times, and yeah, it is nice to see his origins in some form, but it does feel like these origin story type episodes really aren't needed, especially since you can get the basic premise of the series well enough in the second episode and beyond, so it really doesn't feel like it feels like it's just there to fill in an episode quota. And considering the episodes are already padded out by those ending segments of the manga author, it does feel like Netflix wanted to make the series longer than it needed to be, especially since the jokes that have Kenjiro Suda and David Wald acting so utterly perplexed and amazed by all of Japan's innovations end up carrying the story on their own. I especially love all the people's reactions to Lucius, since he can't speak Japanese. Therefore, they just don't know how to react to this strange foreign man who happens to enjoy bathhouses to a very much a ludicrous extent. Whether it's the men who are constantly confused how to interact with him, or the women noting how handsome he is and taking some sights of his junk. Yeah, there's plenty of male nudity in this series, but it's often played for laughs, and it ultimately does let you know that the author definitely knew what she was getting into. So, while I feel the series is a bit padded out, it does happen to make use of the comedy throughout its absurd scenarios where it counts, and both David Wald and Kenjiro Suda do deliver great voice work. That's why I'm going to give it a 7.5 out of 10. Studio Naz may have given us My Sister, My Writer, but as shown with Angolma's record of a Mongol war, as well as It Invaded, it shows that they can make some good stuff too, and this show is no exception. See you next time.